Okay, so our second study in stress, the causes of stress, looks at control. If we can push the button, if we are in full control, does that reduce our stress? So we're looking for sort of the increase of control reduces stress, so it's a bit like a negative correlation. Okay, so this is also an experimental study, and it's by Geer and they look at stress and control. The aim is to see if perceived control or actual control can reduce stress reactions to adverse stimuli. Now, the method they use is a lab experiment in which participants were shown photographs of dead car crash victims, and their stress levels were measured with a GSR and a heart rate monitor, so the ECG. The participants who took part were 60 undergraduate psychology students from a New York university. It was an independent measures design in a false environment where participants were randomly assigned to 3 conditions. The 3 conditions were: Group 1 were given control over how long they looked at the images of the dead car crash victims. They could press a button to terminate the image and were told a tone would precede each new image. Group 2 were warned the photos would be 60 seconds apart. They would see the picture for 35 seconds and a 10-second warning tone would precede each photo. The group had no control but did know what was happening. Group 3 were told that from time to time they would see photos and hear tones but were not given timings or any control. Now, once they were randomly assigned into the independent measures, so Group 1, Group 2 or Group 3, each participant was then seated in a soundproof room and they were plugged into the skin response and the ECG machines. They sat in the room for 5 minutes while the machines were calibrated and base readings taken. Instructions were read over an intercom, so they were individually on their own in these rooms, and then the photos started to appear. So the photo was preceded with a 10-second tone and then flashed up for 35 seconds. Now, remember that only one group could terminate the photo and move on. The GSR was taken at the onset of the tone and during the second half of the tone and in response to the picture. Now, the ethics of this sound particularly bad, but the results looking, is there a difference in control? Well, the ECG recordings were discarded as they appeared inaccurate for the 60 undergraduate participants taking part. So only the skin response was used to draw conclusions. Now, Group 2 showed most stress. So Group 2 were the ones who were warned the photos would be 60 seconds apart and they would see the picture for 35 seconds and then a 10-second warning tone, and the group had no control but did know what were happening. Now, Group 1, who were given control over how long they looked at the image, were the least stressed of the 60 participants. So the conclusion that we can draw from this experimental study is that having control over your environment, looking at awful photos of people who have died in car crashes, can reduce stress response. So having